Council meeting.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse.
make a motion to approve the written minutes of the October 28th council meeting.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
A motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, seconded by Ms. Housefeld to approve the written minutes of the October 28th council meeting. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Next on the agenda is to discuss whether we are going to move the November council meeting from Tuesday, the 23rd, because of Thanksgiving, to the November 18th. Has council come up with are we going to keep it on the Tuesday, the 23rd? Is that acceptable to everybody?
Mr. President,
Ms. Housefeld.
I just told the other council members, I do have doctor's appointments for my mom and I both, late afternoon, early evening on both of those days. But whatever they decide, I might just run late getting here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
President, I'm good either day, don't matter.
I'm good either date also.
I can make either one.
Okay. We'll keep it on Tuesday, the 23rd then, and if we need to push it back a little due to the CIC meeting, and I know a lot of members are on the CIC, so we'll kind of roll with it, but we'll keep it on Tuesday, the 23rd. All right.
Steve,
Yes, sir.
we have to announce the time, though. We can't roll it back to,
Council
Without
meeting
a-
will be held at 7 p.m. like normal,
Okay.
unless there's a delay. If we don't have enough people here to run a meeting, we'll have to delay it, So the council meeting will be Tuesday, November 23rd, 7 p.m. Stay tuned. All right, we'll move to reports of administrative officials. Mayor, Mr. Stuchel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to first start by acknowledging all the veterans who have served and are currently serving our country. I'd also like to thank Councilman Don Taberky for hosting a town hall meeting this Tuesday to discuss potential amendments to the village charter. The village will be hosting future community engagement opportunities that will be under the guidance of the consultant that we have retained. Currently, the village is in the process of conducting a government structure analysis to address staffing and the various positions within City Hall. The analysis will address restructuring, including potential elimination and reclassification of established statutory positions to aid in the enhancement of the village's efficiency and effectiveness. So further dates will be announced in the very near future. As you've possibly heard, the engine on our ladder truck blew on the way to get some scheduled maintenance done, and we will need to get an additional appropriation to cover the needed repairs, which will be an entire engine rebuild. The chief can give more information on what is expected as far as the total cost, so I might actually ask the chief now if he wouldn't mind explaining that further.
Okay, so as the mayor explained, the engine on ladder 91 blew Monday, a week ago, on the way to Summit Fire Apparatus to get the ladder, some welds redone on the ladder. In the process, we had to take it to Ohio CAT, which was then transferred to Cummins of Ohio. Total engine rebuild is going to cost $24,306.69. So we'll need an additional appropriation into line item 7AA. There's not enough money in that line item to cover that expense.
Mr. President,
Mr. Bob Culbertson.
just a quick question. How old is that truck?
So 2008.
Oh, okay. I
Yes.
thought it was something we just purchased not too long
No,
ago.
no, 2008. Yeah.
Mr. President.
Ms. Housefeld.
Brian, can you repeat that number, please?
$24,306.69. There was also two charges of almost $2,000 for two separate tow bills, but I had the money in 788 to take care of those, so I just need the money to pay Cummins for the actual rebuild itself.
Mr. President,
Mr. Taberky.
Brian, there's a 13-year-old engine.
Yes,
What's the life expectancy of the truck?
20 years is when the ladders are supposed to be replaced.
Okay.
So we were looking at trying to replace that with a different kind of vehicle sooner than later, but that's probably going to be at least 3 or 4 years down the road. So either way we go, I think we need to do that, get it rebuilt just for trade-in value when we get to that point. But that's something we'll talk in the budget meetings.
Mr. President,
Mr. Taberky.
make a motion, put that additional appropriation on table at the council meeting.
I'll second that.
A motion by Mr. Taberky, second by Mr. Ray Culbertson to place additional appropriation ordinance on the table to replace that engine. Are there any remarks? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Still you, Mayor?
All right. The next one here is kind of a two-parted doozy, so, and again, I'm not trying to steal Councilman Taberkey's thunder on what he wanted to propose, but I do want to discuss, basically, I wanted to kind of make a statement as far as the reference to giving the employees a bonus with some of the COVID funds. I am not in favor of that current proposal right now. As of right now, just so you're all aware, we just received our proposal back for our healthcare coverage, and there is a 12% increase for this next year. That is not all strictly because of any kind of excessive use. There have been, again, we've had individuals that have been able to, get the needed healthcare that has been provided, but we have actually added employees who have younger families. We have more employees now. Right now, we're currently in a position where I don't want to discourage, we've had, our younger employees from having families, which they have been, and we really don't need to give them any further reason to look elsewhere for employment. I would like to actually be able to absorb that 12% this next year so that they can fully utilize their percentage increases that were negotiated in their contracts. If at all possible, I feel that we are in a good position. So rather than actually giving the idea of a bonus, I would rather, again, being able to allow for that full 12% to be absorbed, if at all possible. Before we entertain discussion, if possible, at the same time, the current COVID funding that we have available, we would like to utilize for equipment replacement for the playgrounds. That's been something that's been asked for years. We have dangerous equipment that's out there right now currently that is actually, some of which is beyond repair. It is actually suggested that it be fully replaced. I have received estimates for that right now. We are working on actually, with Mr. Paul and some other individuals in designing redesigning the space and replacing the equipment, and also putting in, rubber mulch for both Vine Street Park and the Franklin Park there at Tower Avenue, the two most heavily utilized spaces, especially for our local school kids. So those would be the first that would be earmarked. The other proposal that I would like to deal with right now also is actually increasing the pool deck space by more or less imploding the baby pool and filling that area in, so that would be additional deck space that could be utilized again for the citizens with potential grilling area. But it's not worth at this point the added expense to take that area and turn it into like a splash zone. That is just cost prohibitive. So what the feedback that we've received from numerous individuals would be is to be able to have some additional space, some area where you could potentially host a party, potentially where, you could actually have grills available that people could utilize. So again, I'm not trying to, rain on what Councilman Taberkey wanted to do. I just had a different idea as far as how we could utilize our funds. I wanted you also to be aware of what we were up against, since we just got word on our proposal as far as for the healthcare increase.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse?
what is the funds? What is the amount of funds that we have for whatever we were going to use for either the bonuses or what Jonathan's talking about?
So Mr. President, so that
Okay.
it's going to come in two parts. So again, we've received the first portion for this year,
Sorry, here it is.
it's two,
227,100.30, and so we'll get the same amount yet next year also.
Mr. President,
Bob Culberson?
and just pay on those funds, I'm assuming these all would qualify for that. Do we have to turn in documentation? Do we have any, fear of them saying, hey, no,
No,
this doesn't?
as long as you're under $700,000, no.
Okay.
and Mr. President.
Mayor?
So basically, in looking at this, with one of the qualifying the funds that could be utilized for infrastructure improvements, but they, right now, currently, as far as there were issues where you were able to increase, data usage as far as for, phones, for anything relative to cellular. We're also able to, for water lines, that kind of thing, but we're not in that position to do that right this moment. But we can utilize the funds for the enjoyment of the community, for increasing recreational activities, any outside usage. So as of right now, the greatest needs that we have and the most costly would be the replacement of the playground equipment, which is something that we've again been looking at. And right now, currently, Vine Street Park has an estimate of $110,000 potentially to redo that area. Franklin Tower Park, we're in the 60,000 range. And again, there's continued reports on a regular basis where we have to go make repairs. And I am concerned at this point for the amount of usage that those two parks have. We need to address that sooner than later.
Mr. President.
Mr. Bob Culberson.
So Jonathan, do you have a wish list for like the 440,000? I know you just rattled off about 200,000, give or take. But do we have like a list of things that would qualify, that might have been in your 5-year view for the village, that probably would need to be replaced or would have been on the horizon?
Mr. President?
Mayor.
Yes. I mean, the parks itself, again, that was something that was being addressed to begin with, try to determine how we could potentially fund that to begin with, and how we would be able to stagger that replacement over an extended period of time. Because this current funding that we have available would qualify, that I would like to start with those two parks this year and look at next year's option to expand that, if at all possible, to be able to then move that into either replacing some, if not all, of the equipment at basically Ross, Lower Ross, and the other playgrounds that it would be needed. We do, and I'm not just saying that just to get rid of the space. If there's something that can still be utilized, then fine. But the damaged equipment, which is imperative to be replaced, is at the two parks that we're addressing right now. But if in the next round, if we can still do additional repairs to the other parks and address the safety issues, then I would like to actually do that sooner than later, because again, we're talking each park itself, you're going to have, again, $60,000 to $100,000 in replacement cost.
Mr. President?
Ms. Bettinghouse.
Peggy, didn't we spend that money already? We're not going to have $400,000, are we?
No, I'm sorry. Yes, you are, but it's over 2 years. That's what I'm saying.
Over
There's
2
only 227,100, and then you'll get the same identical amount next year.
So what we already,
That, all the funds from the previous year have been spent, because
that's-
they had to be spent by a certain time, and then
okay.
I filed all the reports.
that's what I was talking about, but I
Right.
thought that was part of this, but
No,
it's not.
This is something new, but I would also
Okay.
like to add, I 100% support this. I mean, I moved in here in 1999, and I can tell you Hager Park still has the same equipment up there, and it's falling apart, and, sometimes it is unsafe, and I tell Tommy about it, but if we want the young families to move here, we need to fix up these parks and make it a lot more attractive. I go out to where my grandson lives, and it's night and day, and so if we want to attract the young families, we really have to do this. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Southfeld.
I totally agree. I'm not sure about all the parks, but I know the one up by me, Tower Avenue Park, I've called Tommy at least 3 or 4 times this past summer, because I'm there a lot, either with my nephew or Mike's grandkids, and the swings were getting busted, to where one of the little girls actually fell off of it because it busted on her. The slide has already been taken down because it was busted. The parks are in disarray, and I agree with Peggy. If we want younger people to move here with families, we have to make it attractive for them as well as the citizens that we have here to keep them. And I do believe Tower Park and Vine Street Park are 2 of the biggest parks used around town. Not saying that the other ones are not. Those are just the ones I'm more familiar with. And I totally agree that something needs to be done with the equipment. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. DeBerke?
didn't I get the information from the service department yet, but between police and fire, you're looking at about $57,000 if you give each guy $100 a month.
Mr. President,
Mr. Ray Culberson?
one more question maybe for Peggy or Jonathan. You brought up a 12% increase. Do we have a dollar amount on what that, for the healthcare? A projected 12% increase.
The number he's going to give you is just the premiums, because we also have the HRAs and the SHAs.
So in looking at this, we're in what, 122,000 roughly on the, I'm sorry, wait a minute, go ahead.
It's actually going to be, I would say, what we budgeted this year would probably cover it, is probably what it's going to be. It might be even a little bit more, because we budgeted a little bit ahead. And we're still looking at the numbers. That's why he was asking your opinion before we really start digging into it. So hold on one second. My pages are sticking. Sorry. Where are we at? 1.6. Okay, so we budgeted 1.6 last year. It's going to be very close to that, if not even a little bit more. And we were told that 12% was actually a very good bid, that a lot more were coming in at 18 and 20, 25%, so.
Mr. President,
Mr. DeBerke?
they said 1.6 for this year, if they had 12% to that for next year.
Well, you have to realize some of that is, like, we have an HRA.
Correct,
And
I know
so far,
that.
no one's even used it this year. So I think I could possibly be somewhat comfortable with that. But until I see what everybody's going to, what plan they're going to pick and all that, I can't, give you an exact amount. And so until we talk to council, then we have to go back to the employees, and then I can figure out more. Our open enrollment is in December. Also, some employees might I know a few of the employees are looking at our plan and they're realizing it's not as good as their spouses, so they're moving off. I already know a couple of them that are doing that, but then I know some other employees that are moving back on. So until I get until I know what everybody's doing, I can't give you a accurate number.
Mr. President?
Mayor Stuckey?
And one thing I have to say, the employees have really actually made a huge difference in this whole process. When I was able to get involved with the healthcare committee and attending some of the meetings, and they stepped up actually to help make this work and bail part of this out when we did not have, the ready, cash available to help fully fund it. They have taken on a much greater portion of that overall expense than what the village has been able to fund on its own. And again, I would like to give them the reassurance that we will be able to cover that so that they can truly be able to utilize, their percentage increases that they were awarded in their contracts. Instead of them being, nervous that they're going to have, additional funds that we're going to have to come up with and or be withheld from their checks. They've done a lot to make this work, and they've been open to this. In fact, their initiative in this actually made all the difference in the world by bringing everybody together to actually come up with a solution. So I think they do need to be rewarded.
So the bottom line is they're going to get what Mr. DeBerke's talking about. They're just not going to have to increase their pay or the money they're putting out for their health care. You're basically giving it to them a different way.
Mr. President, that's my proposal, yes.
Anyone else? I would assume that you need to know fairly soon as far as for the bids and all that.
Right, well, and we're working, that's part of my report, we've already started working on the budgets a little bit, so we will continue to work on the budgets, and we'll probably have a healthcare meeting with the employee, with the committee itself, and then with the employees.
Okay, all right. Anything else, Mayor? Okay. Order to Ms. Brookway.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Auditor's Office provided the end of October revenue and expense spreadsheets to council and the administration. As of the end of September, the village revenues are up $2,820,890.21 over our expenses. I'd also like to ask that to add to the appropriation ordinance I need a little bit of an additional, possibly 10,000 into the accumulated sick time, because I think I have one more employee that might be cashing out a little bit of it by the end of the year. And then, as I said before, I'll probably start looking over the line items, and in this ordinance, I might add a few of the decreases and increases that we do towards the end of the year, and we'll get it in this ordinance. But I would like to ask council if they could have a special council meeting after the December committee of the whole, the December 9th for that year end. You know, that we could have something that comes up that is very unexpected. We might need to have an additional meeting, but hopefully I'll have everything in order, and you won't have to have the December 23rd council meeting. And that concludes my report.
Mr. President,
Mr. Zaberki.
make a motion to add the sick time money to the additional appropriation ordinance.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Zaberki, second by Mr. Bob Culbertson to add the $10,000 for accumulated sick pay to the additional appropriation ordinance. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. All right. Law Director, Ms. Van Valkenburg.
I apologize. I was out the most recent meeting with health issues with my mother. I want to address resolution, I think it should be number 5, which would be the resolution supporting an inclusive St. Bernard. And we had talked about that back in September, I believe it was. There was some confusion about whether or not it was coming out and on the table in October. I believe you should all have received a copy of that. It's my understanding Heidi had put those in your boxes previously. If you don't have a copy, I have a copy tonight that I ran off of my computer, but I noticed a couple of typos. But I do have those available if you don't have them. But I would like to have that put before council for resolution and vote next week at the next council meeting. Thank you.
Mr.
Oh, sorry,
Zaberki.
Mr. President. Valerie, I made the motion last meeting to put it on the table.
Okay.
So even though we didn't have it for the last council meeting, do we have to do another motion or not?
I think it would be safer to do so, yes.
Make a motion for resolution, you said 5?
I believe it's number 5, yes. It's what I had, that's what I looked at from what's already been passed this year.
On the agenda for next council meeting.
Mr. President, before we do that, can I
Ms.
just ask
Bettinghouse, yeah.
Can I ask Valerie, I just had a couple of some changes
Okay.
that I was going to recommend.
Okay.
Instead of using the word like the Bipartisan Ohio Fairness Act, wherever there's a the, because it's really not passed yet, there's not really anything formal, use the word
Okay.
And then in that third paragraph, when you get to the second sentence and it says, including in the fields of, I don't know if we could just say, for example, including in the fields of education, law, and what is the difference between health care? There's a health, it states health and it states health care. Do we need both of those?
I don't think we need both of those.
Okay.
So I would actually probably strike.
Okay, those are the only changes I had, is just to change the to and maybe look at that second sentence and putting, for example, and it may not work, and that's fine, but then just looking at only using one, either health or healthcare, it doesn't matter. Okay, thank you.
I'll make those changes. Thank you.
We do have a resolution 5. It was the tax
Okay.
accounting. Yeah, so
'Cause I
if you could just
I
make a
actually
motion
got
for the
online.
inclusion resolution.
Mr. President, make a motion to put the inclusion resolution on the table.
I'll second that.
A motion by Mr. Zaberki, second by Ms. Bettinghouse, to place the resolution for the inclusion on the table. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. All right. Anything else, Valerie? Good? Okay. Thank you. Treasurer, Mr. Unger.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening I have the statement from Star, Ohio, with our funds there at the end of October totaled $7,322,141.07. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Safety and Service Director, Mr. Pohl.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report.
Thank you. Tax Commissioner has a report, I think. Ms.
Yes,
Pickler?
I
Yep,
have
that's what
it.
saw
Thank
the
you.
email.
For October, the tax collections were $932,983. The tax refunds for October were $2,353.54. Payments from the e-file system for October, $2,588.95. Delinquent tax collected with capital recovery, $2,485.40. Delinquent tax collected with the Ohio Attorney General's Office, $439.39. October 2021 is up 4.8% from October of 2020. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. We'll now move to reports of standing committees. Finance, Mr. DeBerke.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to thank everyone who ran for political office in the last election. Also, thank you to the residents that came to the town hall Tuesday night. I know Jonathan already covered that. And thanks to Nicole Klungel for creating an event on Facebook for me. I'm Facebook illiterate, and for taking notes. I know Mr. Unger just said we have $7 million in the bank. I think it'd be a nice gesture. We still do the $100 a month payment to the employees that didn't miss a beat during the pandemic. I mean, right now, we're looking at approximately $57,000 between police and fire. I haven't got the report from the service department. I'm assuming 16, 17 employees. It'd be less than the $22,000 for the fire, for the police department. I'm figuring you're looking under $100,000.
Mr. President,
Ms. Brickley.
I have to say this. If you're going to do that it's like a bonus. And please, this is not about me. But do you know how that makes the people in City Hall feel? I've already had some of them come to me. You're including every employee in the city but 5 people. So I just want to throw that out there. And I don't even care if you don't give me one. I'm not talking me. That's just wrong. I mean, it really is. It's like they think, what are we the people here don't count. I mean, we're going to give everybody in the city a bonus but 5 people. So I just want to throw that out. That was not, I mean, and I came in during COVID, and I worked at home for COVID, so it's not like I didn't work. But I was not in the trenches like the men and the women were. But I'm just saying, it didn't come over very nicely to the 5 people that work here that you suggest bonuses for everybody but those people at City Hall. I just wanted to say that, and I'm saying that for them, not for me.
Mr. President,
Mr. DeBerke.
I mean, my rationale was City Hall was closed for a month or two.
I still work.
I'm just saying, City Hall was closed, and then some people only came in 3-4 days a week. They alternated duties. So that's why I didn't include City Hall, but it's up. My recommendation. I'm not the king here.
Mr. President,
Ms. Hausfeld.
I understand what you're saying, Donnie, but I also understand what the mayor's saying. And to me, it's kind of a no-brainer because if you give the money back into the healthcare, it benefits everybody that has insurance through us. So that would include the 5 people at City Hall, and it wouldn't exclude anybody unless they don't have health care. And I just think if health care is going up by 12%, this is my logic, I might be wrong. If you're giving $100 a month to the employees, and then the mayor comes back in a month or two and says, you know, health care is going up 12%, we're gonna have to tack on however much dollar amount that is per employee per year, it's kind of a catch-22. You're giving them a bonus here, but you're taking it away here. Does that make sense?
Mr. President.
Mr. Bob Kohler. Sorry. Go ahead, Mr. DeBerke, sorry. He was first.
I understand you're saying, Patty, but if we put $2-3 million in the bank, I don't think $100,000 will break us, even though the insurance has gone up a little bit.
Mr. President,
Ms. Hausfeld.
I understand we have the money in the bank. And Peggy, correct me if I'm wrong, because I think I overheard you say something the other night. She had put money in the bank. Okay, you can explain it because I know I'll screw it up.
I have put $2 million in the bank, but we're still waiting to find out what is decided at the state level about what we're going to have to pay back when it comes to income tax. So right now, Leanne and I have discussed having about 800,000 of that earmarked. It might not happen, it might happen, but it is earmarked, and I put it in this investment so nobody could spend it.
President, that was,
Mr. DeBerk.
that's further down. Fairfield's put $1 million in the budget for Cincinnati. I think Steve had the article 2 weeks ago. Cincinnati, I can't remember how many $1 million Cincinnati's looking at losing. So
It was Columbus. Columbus was looking at losing 110 million if this passes, so I'm hoping they're fighting it too. Mr. Bob Culberson, I heard you a long time ago.
It's fine. Hey, Donnie, I mean, I'm fine with you bringing it to council. I do agree with Peggy to exclude people doesn't feel right. But my suggestion is that, if you're, wanting it, just, let's put it to a vote and just, put it out there.
With the council's pleasure. Do we wait and see what kind of money we're talking about as far as the increase and then decide? I don't think it has to be done tonight or next Thursday.
Mr. President, I
Mr.
think,
Schultmeier.
I think there's a lot of things that we should think about before we decide this. I think you can always do this later. Right now, there are so many questions about what we need to spend money on and what we want to spend money on. I do think that the parks need to be a priority. I think Jonathan's right about that. I think we actually committed to that in one of these meetings that said if we had COVID money, we would spend it on that. I think we need to make sure that we can cover health care without an increase to the employees. And then if there's still money left at the end of the, at the end of the year, I know we're getting close, but we're not there, maybe we revisit it. That's my opinion.
Mr. President?
Ms. Housefeld?
I liked exactly how you said it, and instead of $100 a month, we could just do like a one flat time increase instead of a monthly stipend that you were saying.
Mr. President, it's
Mr.
it's
DeBerk.
$100 a month for some people work 15 months, so they get $1,500 at a time. It's not $100 each month for.
Mr. President.
Mr. Bob Culberson.
Just a bonus, not an increase.
All right, so it sounds like we're going to wait till a future date to make this decision.
Mr. President, I have one
Mr.
other
Schultmeier.
question, and I guess it's probably for Peggy. Peggy, if we give them, the employees, a bonus, they would have to pay taxes on that bonus?
Well, and I gotta figure that all out, tax, pension,
Right.
everything.
Yes.
I just think
so-
that the other thing is if you put it into their health care, they might actually get more
Okay.
for their dollar
Yeah.
than giving them a bonus after
Okay.
taxes. I don't know that, I'm just
Yeah,
wondering.
see, this
yeah.
was all new, yeah, so I'd have to look into it, like, basically you ask the pensions, do you want to tax or not, or do it or not, and it's up to them, but yes, they would have to pay tax on it.
Okay? We good then? We're going to wait till. All right. Anything else, Mr. DeBerk? No? Okay. Safety, Mr. Ray Culberson.
No report, but I would also like to thank all the veterans, all the workers in the community, and all the community members, and happy Veterans Day.
Thank you. Service, Mr. Schultmeier.
Mr. President, I do have the Service Department report for October. We replaced 30 trucks in residences, 19 dumpsters at residences, 300 special pickups at residences, 183 tons of garbage, 2 30-yard waste dumpsters, 5 30-yard dumpsters. Recycling, we had 36.42 tons of recycling material and 5,540 pounds of scrap metal. I also have the waste collection fees, and Tommy, this is for the month of August, it looks like. August, and they were $23,629.71. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Public improvements, Mr. Bob Culberson.
Thank you, Mr. President. The CIC will meet on Tuesday, November 23rd in council chambers at 6 o'clock p.m. So I encourage everybody to stop out, and I want to just thank everybody that ran for council and thank all the veterans for their service, currently or in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Laws, contracts, and claims, Ms. Bettinghouse, I believe we.
Yeah, thank you,
discussed-
Mr. President. So I basically discussed what I wanted to discuss about the inclusive resolution. After the meeting, really needed to have a decision of when Laws, Contracts, and Claims Committee can meet again, because there are two topics that we really need to discuss. One is the short-term rental, and the other one is for the dispensary. So we'll get that planned, and then I'll make sure it's on the website. And I just want to thank our veterans for everything that they've done for us. And also, I want to wish Roger Bacon volleyball team the best at the state, and I also want to wish Roger Bacon football for the best at the district. So go Roger Bacon.
Thank you. Marketing, Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. President. The November 2021 newsletter has gone out to residents. Upcoming events in the St. Bernard community. St. Bernard Ludlow Grove Historical Society has their program scheduled for November 15th at 7 p.m. St. Bernard Elmwood Place School is having a fall musical on Friday, November 19th at 7 p.m. and Saturday, November 20th at 2 p.m. Tickets are $5. Roger Bacon also has a production this month, Alice in Wonderland, November 19th and November 20th at 7:30 p.m. and November 21st at 2 p.m. Tickets are $10 for adults, $8 for senior citizens and non-Roger Bacon students, and free for 10 and under. And all seating is assigned, so please email drama@rogerbacon.org to order yours in advance or come to the ticket table before the show. This concludes my report.
Thank you. Business and Industry, Ms. Housefeld.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have a report tonight, but I did want to thank all the veterans for their service. I also wanted to thank and congratulate everybody that ran for council. And something else, Toys for Tots dance for the St. Bernard Eagles Riders is Saturday, November the 20th. I believe it starts at 8 p.m. If you bring a toy, it's $5 to get in. If you don't bring a toy, it is $10 to get in. And they do have a really good band called the Cincinnati Rockers, I believe it's called. And it's a great time. I usually go to it, and it's really a good time if anybody's interested. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council this evening? Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Melanie Quallen. I reside at 4918 Greenlee. I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Tabertke for recognizing all of the on-the-ground service workers and suggesting that they potentially maybe get a bonus. I think that's a really kind and thoughtful gesture. As someone who owns a wine bar and never stopped service, we pivoted to a carry-out business, and having to work face-to-face with the general public throughout COVID, I think that's a very thoughtful gesture. And I wanted to say thank you to all of our service employees who kept working throughout COVID. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening?
I got one last thing under budget stuff. I talked to the administration and Ms. Brickweg earlier, last couple of months. In June of 2020, Stryker Products put out a memo about our current Life Pack 15s we carry, which are the defibrillators we use for shocking people's hearts who are in cardiac arrest. At that point, they were seeing a failure rate of about 1% in these devices. They've put out an actual recall. So these devices now, they're seeing 3 to 5%. When these things fail, they fail in the middle of using them, and they're no longer usable. So if we were in the process of running a code, cardiac arrest, it could shut down in the middle of that, and it would not work. So what they're doing, the solution to this problem is they are offering to purchase new ones at a 50% decrease. So these items are currently going for $38,000 and some change. They're offering to sell them to us for $18,365. We would need to replace 2 of these. The other part of that deal is that there'll be a new monitor coming out in the next 3 to 5 years. I don't know what it'll be called, but it'll be the latest and greatest. And they assure us they'll give us $15,000 trade-in on these devices if we exchange them now before the first of the year. And this is only good till January 1st. Let's see, so basically if we would buy the devices now and then trade them in the 3 to 5 years, it would cost us about $3,500 per device to use these until the new device comes out. As of, let's see, one of those was purchased in 2013. One was purchased in 2014. We paid $28,000 for the first one, $30,000 for the second one. And as of, let's see here, the 8-year mark, which would be now on one and January 1st of the other one, they will no longer service or even inspect these devices. So basically, we take on all the liability if those things would fail. So what I'm proposing is that we would, again, we need an additional line or additional appropriation to do this, but proposing that we spend $36,730 for 2 LifePak 15s through Stryker.
Mr. President,
Mr. DeVerke.
make a motion to put that additional appropriation on with the other ones.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
A motion by Mr.
Wait a minute.
DeVerke, second by Ms. Hausfeld to add the 36,000 plus for the new defibrillators to the additional appropriation ordinance already on the table. Are there any remarks?
Mr. President,
Ms. Brickler?
I just want to ask, do you want that in ambulance, or where do you want that?
I would like it in 7A3, please. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay. Any other remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Mr. President,
Mr. DeVerke?
Brian, did we ever agree with the old ambulance? We still got that?
Currently, we still have the old ambulance. I just spoke with a gentleman from Summit Fire Apparatus today to get pretty much an idea of what he thinks it's worth. And Milford Community Fire Department is coming Monday morning at 8 a.m. to look at it. They're very interested. So once I talk to them, and hopefully we'll have a proposal from them. But we're thinking we should be able to get somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 for that.
Thank you.
All right?
All right, anyone else?
Before we adjourn, we're going to talk about Sue. Sue's retiring at the end of the year. We want to take applications, resumes, or is it just going to be word of mouth?
She may change her mind by then too, I don't know. I'm trying to see where it goes, I guess. All right, at this point I show 2 ordinances and one ordinance and 1 resolution for next council meeting, which will be on Tuesday, November 23rd at 7 p.m. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President,
Ms. Hausel.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second it.
A motion by Ms. Hausfeld, second by Ms. Bettinghouse to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. We are adjourned.